Hello, dear students. Today we have another lecture towards writing your research paper, your project, your graduation paper, taking notes and documentation. As you know, in the lecture before this one, you have learned something about how to narrow your topic and how to reach a thesis that you want to prove along your uh, writing. Now, today, let's say that you have reached some sources and you have to know whether these sources are useful, beneficial for your topic or not. Sometimes we have sources that are called primary and other type of sources called secondary. The primary one means the original one, the main one. For example, if you want to write about certain poem, okay, by certain poet, you are doing what? You are writing about the poem from its original source, from its text, right? So the text of this poem is used in your writing. So this is a primary. A primary. Why? Because it's originally delivered or presented by its author, who is the poet. But if you want to have certain critics on this poem, or certain explanation, or analysis, so in this case, the source that deals with criticizing, analyzing, and explanation of this poem is called secondary. Why? Because it is talking about what? About something that is not originally from its author. Someone else come and talk about the original source. So it is called secondary sources. This is a very simple explanation about the type of sources that you will face in your writing. Now, for today, as long as you have sources now, so we have to know how to take notes from those sources. How to take notes from those sources. So the first one is taking notes and documentation. So we have 2 points we have to discuss. Let's start our lecture. Today we have how to take notes from our sources. How to take notes. Of course, we have more than one way of taking notes. When you find material that you think will be relevant and useful, you need to write down enough information so that when you refer to it later, you will be reminded of the main points and where you have get it from and where you have get it from. So you have to do what? You have to document each piece of information with each step you are writing. So you have to put the author, information about the author, the title, the pages, and its year of publication, at least those main points. Then when we want to prepare for the references, we have to go to the full documentation. But within the text, within each note that you are having, you have to do what? You have to just mention the author, the year, and the page number so that you can't lose the material from where it comes. So step by step, you have to follow these points. Okay? Now, there are certain things you have to follow. For example, you can do what? You can use index card or a computer file or a notebook. And in these 3 forms, you can write down your notes, okay? Labeling each entry with the information that will allow you to keep track of where it comes from. Okay, so you have to keep a track where this piece of information comes from. You need to write down the author, the title, and the page's number or the URL link. Okay, so these are the main things, points that you have to write down as a note. Within each material you have taken as a note. Take noted in your own words and use your own sentence patterns, so you need to paraphrase as long as they said that taking notes in your own words, so this means that it is paraphrasing. Okay, how to paraphrase the original material. This means that we will not take the words as they are. We have to modify the material in our own words. And of course, we need documentation and do the needed documentation. So, first step is paraphrasing and then document. If you find words that you like to quote, be sure to enclose it in quotation marks to distinguish your sources words from your own. In this way, you avoid making a plagiarism. So, if you find words that you like to quote, okay, so in this case, if we have the case of a quotation, be sure to enclose it in quotation marks. Of course, we have to use the quotation marks so that we can say to the reader that this material is what is not my own words, it is quoted from the author words, it is from the source's words. Okay, and in this case need documentation so that we avoid plagiarism. What is meant by plagiarism? Plagiarism is when you are taking ideas, information, text that is not from your own words, not yours, not your ideas, not your texts, okay, and without documentation, without saying that this author is this material, sorry, is for this author. Okay, so it is regarded as you, and this is not right. It is called plagiarism, like in Arabic السرقة الأدبية. Okay, label each note with a subject heading. Okay, so within each note you have to do what? You have to label them by heading, by title, by subject, whatever. Okay, now, so we have more than one way of taking notes. Okay, so one of those ways is paraphrasing. Then we have a quotation. Then we have what? We have summarizing. Okay, summarizing. So in this case, we have three ways of taking notes. In what way you are taking notes? In one way, you quote, so you recite the same words of the author. Number two, to paraphrase, to say the same material in your own words and sentence structure. Then you have to summarize, means to shorten a long material into its main points or ideas. So, which way I can follow? Which method I can follow in taking my notes? Deciding whether to quote, paraphrase, or summarize. Now we go to each point and we'll explain why we are quoting, when we are paraphrasing, and when to summarize. First of all, you need to decide how to use the source you have found. You have to follow these rules. Quote when the text, quote text when the wording is worth repeating or makes a point so well that no rewording will do it justice. So when we have words that I can't replace it or substitute it with certain words of my own words, it will destroy it, it will spoil its meaning. For example, it is very worthy to be repeated as it is. The author is producing it in a very clear way, so it is not justice to reword it in my own words. In this case, I have to quote. Okay. Number two, when you want to cite the exact words of a non-authority on your topic. So when I want to have the same words of a non-authority, someone very famous, some author is very famous, so that it is very worthy to rewrite his words or her words. Quote when his or her opinion challenge or disagree with those of others. Okay, so when the opinion of the author is very important and disagree or agree with my points. So it is very important to quote them as they are, because it will be stand as an evidence for my idea. Okay. The last one, quote when the source is one you want to emphasize the same. Okay, when the source or the wording of the author are very important and I want to emphasize, to focus light on. So in this case, I want to cite them as they are. All of those are about quoting. Now I have to know where to paraphrase and where to summarize. Now, paraphrase when the source is not worth quoting, but contain details you need to include. So, a source that it contains too much details, I don't need its wording, the same words as the author's words, the source's words. I need to include the details only. Okay, so in this case, I have to paraphrase, I have to reword those texts into my own word, into my own sentence structures and patterns. Okay, now summarize longer passages whose main points are important but whose details are not. So summarize longer passages, right? By the way, when you paraphrase a passage or a paragraph, you have to give a result of paraphrased material within the same length. Okay, but as for summarizing passages, the situation will be different. You are, for example, summarizing a whole page with one line, for example. You are after, in summarizing things, you are after the main points only, the main ideas. Okay, just like the main sentence or main idea that you have extracted from your composition exercises, if I remember that. Okay, now we move to each way of taking notes with details. Quoting: when you quote material that deserve to be copied as it is in your text, you need to distinguish the quoted material from your own by what? By enclosing short quotation and quotation marks and setting off longer quoted material as a block. So, quotation marks are very important to say to the reader that this is not my words, this is the author words, this is the source words, okay? So, if you have a short quotation, you have to put quotation marks, and if you have a block quotation, no need for quotation marks, but there are certain way of writing a block quotation with a certain margin, and you will see. So in this case, we have two types of quotation. We have short with the quotation marks, and we have longer quotation. It is dealt with as a block. Here we have some examples on those two types. When to decide whether quotation is short or a block one. How to know that this quotation I can consider it as short, and that quotation is I can consider it as long or block one. Now, if you are following APA style of writing research paper, and I prefer APA style, and you are going to be followed by a lecture specialized for APA style explanation, inshallah, but short quotation should be enclosed in quotation marks like the following example. So in this case, you will see that this passage is going to be quoted, okay? And in this case, this is the result of quoting from this passage, okay, or paragraph. Here, the citizen investor serves his fellow citizens badly by his inclination of withdraw from the community. He tends to serve himself badly as well. He does so by focusing his pursuit of happiness on something that very seldom makes people happy in the way they expect it to do. Okay, now this is a very simple paragraph, and the author or the researcher want to quote from it. If the researcher want to quote these 4 lines, this sample should be considered. So in this paragraph is the quoted material. So it starts from the citizen investor serves and ends in this to it. Okay, so in this case there are 4 lines. So why I can't do this or consider this as a block quotation? Why? Can I explain more? Of course, if you are following APA style, you have to consider that the quoted material that its words counts less than 40 words, it would be short quotation. And if it is more than one more than 40 words, it would be a block quotation. So in this case, we have the number 40 is the decision. Okay, so in this case, you can see this one. This is the form of block quotation because the number of its words is 40 and more than 40. If a researcher follows APA style of writing, she or he has to set the quotation as a block one. If the words number 40 and more, if the quoted words are less than 40, a short quotation is set enclosed in quotation marks, for example, this one. Okay, so how we can count the words? How we can count the words? Of course, in the word office, you can highlight any piece of text, and it will appear at the bottom of the file the number of the words, the exact number of the words. Okay, so it is very important and very easy way to count the words. If they are less than 40, it would be short quotation, and if they are more than 40, it would be a block quotation. Now, what if you need to modify the quoted material? Of course, sometimes I can't put the quoted material as it is. In the way, how can I get benefit from this, or how can I match the points in this quotation and with my topic? Okay, so in this case, I sometimes need to make certain modifications on the quotation, and at the same time I want to consider it as a quotation, not paraphrasing or writing it in my own words. Okay, so we have two ways of making modifications. We have deletion. Sometimes I want to delete certain words that I don't need. Okay, and it will not match my topic. So in this case, I have to substitute it, the deleted material with three periods. Okay, preceded and followed by a space. Okay, so in this case, we have you may sometimes need to delete unnecessary words in the quoted material. You have to insert three periods, leaving a space before the first one and after the last word to indicate the deletion, just as this example below. Okay, you can see these three periods preceded by a space followed by a space indicates that we have certain words here that are deleted by the researcher or the writer, and it is not needed in my own uh, topic. The second way is when we have what? When we have addition or explanation. In this case, any addition for the quoted material, I have to put it where? Between two brackets. Okay? Sometimes the researcher needs to change or add words in the quoted material. Sometimes you need to make the quotation fit grammatically with your sentence. Okay? In this case, you have to put the word you change between two brackets. For example, in this case, writing about the dwindling attention among some composition scholar to the end of the quotation. In this case, one of their goals there is added in order to suit the grammar of the author or the sentence grammar. In this case, I have to put the words that is added between two brackets. And if we have additional explanation, we have the meaning of the word dates. We have yearning. In this case also I have to put them between two brackets. Another beneficial example that shows how to add explanatory words to the quotation and put it between brackets. So we have two ways of adding or changing things by putting them between two brackets. Now we move to the punctuation of quotation material, okay, of the quoted material. We have some punctuation marks that we are stand helpless, don't know what to do, whether to include the punctuational mark inside the quotation marks or outside the quotation marks. Okay, so in this case it will be very critical. Punctuation with quotation marks, learn when each is correct, inside the quotation mark or outside the quotation mark. Okay, now we will see. As for the periods and commas, as for short quotation, periods and commas should be put inside the quotation marks. Okay, if we have dot, period, commas, we have to put it inside the quotation mark, except when you have parenthetical citation at the end, you have to put the period after the parenthesis, like this example. Tichy says country music is a crucial and vital part of American identity, closed quotation marks. In this case, as long as we have parenthetical citation, I have to put the period of the end of the sentence after this parenthesis. Okay, just in case of citation. Now, in B, question marks and exclamation points. In this case, whether to, I don't know whether to put the question mark inside the quotation marks or outside the quotation marks. We have two cases. You look. These go inside closing quotation marks if they are part of the quoted material, but outside if they are not. So what you can understand in this case, you have to put the question mark inside the quotation marks if the question mark is part of the quoted material. But if the question mark is part of my own words and talking or writing, okay, it would be outside the quoted material. For example, let's start with the first example. Speaking at a 4th of July celebration in 1852, Frederick Douglass asked, what have I or those I presented to do with your national independence? So this quotation mark is this question mark is part of the question, that the question itself is quoted. So in this case, I have to put the question mark inside the quoted quotation marks, okay, or the quoted material. In this case, who can argue with W. Charis Goodman's observation that media images persuade women that thinness, from here we'll start the quotation marks, thinness equals happiness and fulfillment. So, you see, thinness equals happiness and fulfillment is not a question. It is just a material quoted. The question is following what? Following the writer's question. Okay? It belongs to the writer's question. In this case, I have to put the question mark outside the quotation marks or quoted material, because it belongs to what? It belongs to the explanation of the author. It is not part of the quoted material. Okay, in this case, I have to put it outside the quoted material. Now we move to the colons and semicolons. These always go outside the quotation marks. All of those goes outside the quoted material, like this example below. Now we discuss the punctuation of a quotation, the guidelines of a quotation, where to quote, why we are quoting things. Now we move to how to document a quoted material. I have to say, even if I am making quotations marks for this passage, for example, I have to say from where this passage, from where this quoted material is come from. Okay, who is the author, which year, and which page. You have to use in-text citation. Now we have the type of citation that is called in-text, means it is within the text, not related to the reference list. Okay, it is the same, but in-text citation is shortened. It not need that. It doesn't need that details of information that is needed in the reference list. And text citation needs just the author, the year, and page number. In order to document each quoted material, you have to put the author name, the year of publication, and page number. You can do it in more than one way. Okay, in this case we have more than one way, and I have to follow the more suitable one. Okay, in this case, in the first example, you have to put the year in parentheses right after the author's name. Like some writers or researchers usually mention the name of the author at the very beginning of the paragraph, followed by the year of publication put it in parentheses, okay? Then start with the material, the quotation or the quoted material, the hands of a man accustomed to burning his own trees, cutting his own hay, and splitting his own firewood. So at the end, I can mention the page number preceded by P dot, put them between two parentheses. This is one way. Another way, I can say the same quoted material, but I can put at the end of the paragraph, I can say according to, in terms of the author name, and gather the year of publication and the page number in one parenthesis. Okay? The last way of documenting quotation, I can explain everything and start with quoted material. Then at the end, I can put all of the information in one parenthesis. I can say the author, comma, the year of publication, comma, the page number preceded by P dot. These are the three ways of quoting, of documenting a quotation. Now we move to the paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is the second type of or way of taking notes. How can I take notes? I want to paraphrase. There is no need for quoting. Now, what is paraphrase? Paraphrase, this is a very simple sample of paraphrasing. In paraphrasing, I have to do what? I have to use my own words. I have to modify the text, the original text, into my own. I have to use my own synonyms, my own vocabulary, my own sentence structure. Sometimes I can put certain points at the very beginning and delay certain points at the end of the paragraph. Whatever. Here we have a very simple sample of producing or the way of paraphrasing. Here, for example, in New York City, an engaging city with a vibrant ambience and exhilarating pace, is one of the foremost tourist destinations in the world. Okay, these few lines I have to recite it, reword it in my own words. So what can I say? I can say one of the most popular places in the world to visit is in New York. So in the original text they start with the New York City. Now I can make the definition of New York City before. I can start with the definition or the characteristics of a New York City. Then I can add people love to visit because it is exciting and interesting. Ambience, vibrant ambience, and exhilarating can be translated into exciting and interesting. So I doing what? I'm using more or simpler words than the original one. Now we move to the summarizing. A summary states the main idea found in a source concisely and in your own words. Unlike a paraphrase, a summary doesn't present all the details to it, so it is generally as brief as possible. Summaries may boil down an entire book or essay into a single sentence, or they may take a paragraph or more to present the main ideas. Okay, so the length is different, guys. The length is different. Summarizing things is also rewording the original text into my own words, but with shortening with deleting so many details. So the result will be shorter. I can summarize a whole book into one single sentence or into one single paragraph, a whole book. Okay, I can summarize just the main ideas, the main points that I have put. Some guidelines for summarizing include only the main ideas, leave out the details, use your own words, indicate the source, the author, and the year. Of course, after paraphrasing, I have to indicate the author and the year. After summarizing, I have to indicate the author and the year. Okay? In APA style, if you are following APA style in documenting sources, just in a quotation, they need the page number. Just in a quotation material or quoted material, they need the page number. In paraphrasing and summarizing, the author and the year of publication is going to be enough. Okay? Now, the last tip I want you to get benefit from. There are certain verbs when you are rewording the original material. You are doing what? You are using your own words, right? So when you are using your own words, you need to use certain verbs that they are called signal verbs. They are called signal verbs. Here we have tips for using signal verbs and their tense. And in which tense I can put it? Most of the writers, the researchers, they are very hesitated whether to put the way of writing or the style or the tense of writing in simple present or in the past or in the perfect. So they are hesitated to choose the right or the suitable tense, and they are very limited in their use of verbs. When they say that the author, certain author says so and so, says is repeated so many times, so it is not good for writing a research paper. When you are writing, you will not repeat yourself. You are not allowed to repeat yourself with the same verb from the very beginning of the paper to the end of the paper. So here they give you a table that gives you a very flexibility in choosing the right verb for each. They want you to choose the right verb for each use of it. For example, you need to introduce quotations, paraphrases, and summaries, clearly letting readers know who the author is. You need to use signal verbs to indicate the information and ideas are not yours. Okay? Of course, if you have a saying or a certain point that is explained by certain author, how the reader knows that it is not yours? You have to say someone says كذا, someone says or comment on certain things. Okay, so here we have a number of verbs. It is called signal verbs that are very beneficial for writing. You can say admit, acknowledge, claim, comment, disagree, concur, agree, argue, confirm, illustrate. Sometimes we have reject, report, deny, declare, insist, know, think, whatever. All of the table explains so many verbs that are called signal verbs. But those signal verbs, when I say this author disagree or agree or observes, what can I say? I can say observe or observes or observed. What is the tense, the suitable tense for those verbs? Here, let me see. The signal verbs tense in terms of APA style of writing. If you are following APA style of writing research paper, you have to use past tense or present perfect tense to introduce sources composed in the past, as in the following. So, APA style try to present our sources, our sources in the past, in two tenses, in the past tense and in the present perfect tense. Let's see this example. Dowdall, Crawford, and Wetzler, 1998, observed that women attending women colleges are so and so. So why they use observed in this way, in this time? Observed because the date is in the past. The date is in the past. So I can say observe now. Okay, so it is somehow from the past. 1998. Okay, so they use the word or the signal verb in the past tense. What about the present tense? APA style requires the present tense in order to discuss results and of an experiment or to explain conclusions that are generally agreed on, like the findings of this study suggest here in the present tense. Why? Because I have findings, I have completed my paper, and I have certain discussions and findings that I want to discuss to the reader. Okay, with the reader. So this study suggests that excessive drinking has serious consequences and so on. So in the form of APA style, we need what? We need to talk about the authors that are talking about a topic in the past in terms of the date. Okay, I have to say it in the past or present perfect, but of course, present perfect to express the near past. It is not that very old, and the past that it has certain results here in the present. Okay, either to say have observed or observed. And the present tense is used only when you have reached the results, the discussion, the findings, the conclusion, etc. Okay, like the word suggest. Thank you for listening. I wish you all the best in your journey of writing your research paper. Thank you very much.